Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Bell. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, and we'll call the meeting to order at 8 a.m. As a reminder, our call-in number is 971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute your phones. You can do this by pressing star 6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak, again pressing star 6. It's very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Well, we've called the meeting to order. I will say good morning to my fellow commissioners. Good morning, Commissioner Scar.
Good morning.
And good morning, Commissioner Olson.
Good morning, Commissioner. Nice November morning.
It is. Well, let's jump right in with Adventist Health Tillamook and President Eric Swenson.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
So we have 7 patients in the hospital today, plus 1 brand new baby. 5 surgery cases scheduled today. Our ambulance crews did 5 911 transports yesterday, no transfers, 1 transport home. I am very excited to share with you some great news for our community. And we have found a partner to come back to Tillamook and provide dialysis services here once again in the hospital basement. We're working with a company called Dialysis Clinic Incorporated, or DCI, and they have decided that Tillamook is a great place for them to add an additional dialysis clinic. They have about 260 across the United States. They're a nonprofit company, and they have only open clinics in communities where they've been asked to come to. They're not in it for a growth model or a profit model, but they do it for what's right for the people in that community. And so we're excited that they're going to open what they're calling the Tillamook Kidney Center. It'll be back in the basement of the hospital where U.S. Renal Care was before they left earlier this year. They have been on site numerous times. They've already got staff hired, and they installed some new dialysis units a couple of weeks ago. And I just saw an email this morning that they're completing their licensure with the state of Oregon. That's been submitted, and that is the last thing they need to do prior to opening. So we're prayerful that will go quickly so that they can open here by the end of the month or the first part of December. And thrilled to have them back, have them come to our community and be a great partner for us moving forward, taking care of our dialysis patients. Some of you may have already seen a philanthropy campaign posted or got a philanthropy letter in the mail. We're trying to help raise $75,000 to help cover some of DCI's costs, and any donation made to Adventist Health for the Tillamook Kidney Center will go directly to them. 100% of those funds will go there. So thank you to all of you who've been patient and prayerful about this important service that is needed for our community. I'm just thrilled to be able to share that with you this morning, and you'll be seeing some press coming out about that here in the next week or so. So I wanted those on the call to hear about it first.
Thank you, Eric. That is such good news. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude to you and your team for working on that so diligently in order to provide that service for our community. That is just thrilling news. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been an honor to work on it. It's not been easy, but it is the right thing to do for our community, for sure.
Well, that is just great. So it'll be hard to top that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, let's move on to the Coastal Caucus and Senator Weber. Give her a moment to unmute.
I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Eric, for all of the hard work on that. That really is a blessing, prayer, and an answer to prayers. Can't commend you enough. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So we have a kidney dialysis center. It's wonderful. And to add to that, we had almost 2 inches of rain within the last couple of days. And we had a tornado in Rockaway, and we have high winds expected. Isn't this just the center of everything right now? And we also have had the election, and I want to congratulate those who were victors. And I want to remind people that continue to be involved, continue to ask questions, continue to be active in what is happening politically in our community. It's very important that we all know exactly what's going on and the implications of the decisions that our leaders are making. So anyway, congratulations. This week has been another week of some really interesting meetings with Tillamook Working Lands and Waters, planning for their future, being able to see what remarkable efforts they are making. You know, when you have a group of people come together that represent so many important issues within our community, you can only have success. And that's what we have with Tillamook Working Lands and Waters. I was also able to speak this week with Captain Kennedy from the State Police because we are having some issues with people buying guns and being able to obtain them, and investigations, and just learning exactly what the rules are for being able to obtain a firearm. And I also met with OSHA and to talk especially about the livestock and housing issue and the next steps. I wrote a letter to be entered in testimony, and in talking with the leadership at OSHA, things are going to go forward, but they're not exactly sure exactly how this is going to all happen. You know, that's the result of some action from a task force that took place in 2017. And so there are changes that are going to have to be made to what is coming forward. And just to let you know that we are not the only area of the state that is very concerned about this one particular requirement that they are bringing forward, and that they are also concerned about the time in order to accomplish this, because they're saying 2026, January 1st, this is going into effect. We don't have the time to be able to, nor the capacity to be able to make sure that we are compliant in that particular time limit. And so that is also being taken into consideration. I also got to visit with the Clatsop Farm Bureau with their yearly meeting up in Astoria, and learned everything that they are doing and the success, especially of the cranberry farmers up there. They had a wonderful crop, and I know that the one farmer that has a stand along the road completely sold out this year, and was very happy about that. I went by it twice, and I missed the turnoff both times, and then kicked myself as I got down the road, thinking, shoot, I didn't get my cranberries. But anyway, there is a very active group of cranberry farmers in Clatsop County, and they're doing very well. I also got to participate in the North Coast Regional Solutions meeting in Garibaldi last Thursday. Mayor Findling and their new city manager got to speak especially with people from the governor's office about challenges that small communities along the coast have and are experiencing, and what kind of help we can get from the governor's office and the state to be able to work through some of these problems, work through some of these challenges, and make sure that our communities stay healthy. I also had a visit this last week from Senate President Rob Wagner, and I took him to Jandy's because he was really interested in having oysters from Tillamook Bay. And we had a very compelling discussion about how we can work together as Republicans and Democrats in the current situation in the Senate, and how we can be partners rather than adversaries in making sure that we do the best for our state. And it was a great visit. He has a goal of visiting every state park, and so he got to check a lot of things off of his list, coming here to Tillamook and then going on down the coast to Lincoln City. And he was especially enthralled with Munson Creek Falls, and was really pleased that he was going to be able to visit there. We also had several celebrations to honor our veterans this week. Last Friday, there was a celebration in Astoria that I was able to attend for the Coast Guard. It's the second annual celebration honoring veterans for the Coast Guard and for the community with a beautiful breakfast and guest speaker and a wonderful program in their armory, which they are continually working to make sure they're upgrading it so it can be a gathering place within the community. And they've done a very good job on that. And then, I've gone to Tillamook celebration for years and years and years. And I was invited to North Plains, and I was there yesterday for their remembrance celebration. And you see the big flag along Highway 26 there when you're heading into Portland, and there's a park at the base of that flag, and that's where their celebration was held. And there, you couldn't see the flyover, but you could hear the flyover. So that was very impactful, being outside and hearing that. They had a great, they acknowledged the council members for the community and the mayor who were not going to be returning to their positions. And the guest speaker was Scott Powell, and he had a very moving, being retired military, a very moving address for the whole group. I had no idea how much those flags cost, but they were gifted a check from the Knights of Pythias for $2,500 to be able to replace the flag when it gets damaged. And so I was impressed by that too. Let's see, what else do I have to tell you about? I'm going to be participating in the Oregon Civics Conference in December, and Representative Wen and myself are putting on a presentation at that. Civics was, when I was in the House, that was voted as to be an integral part of our curriculum in our public schools. And so as a result, we're focusing on that because we're finding that in not teaching civics specifically in our schools, we have a lot of questions that people surmise the answers to concerning our political structure and our rules that need to be made clear and obvious at a much earlier age than they are, so that people are not questioning what's happening politically. I think this is a good opportunity to bring a new generation up with what is happening, because, we're also seeing that people are not necessarily participating in our ability to be board members or council members or mayors. And so I think that we need to remind the young generation that we have how important it is to be involved in our civic endeavors, in our state political moves. And I know that being in the Senate is kind of challenging sometimes when I have to explain to someone that I don't have an apartment in Washington, D.C., that I just go to Salem, and it's not just to Salem, but I get to go to Salem, and that they don't have to worry about me flying back and forth. So all kinds of interesting educational opportunities that we have. There was something else I was going to say. I hope that everyone has made it through the tornado in Rockaway okay. And I think that's it for today. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Senator. I always really appreciate your reports. I'm grateful that you're working with OSHA on the proposed regulations for farm worker housing. That's really important to our economy and in particular to local farmers. So thanks for working on that, and thanks for your lovely report. I appreciate it. Do we have any questions for Senator Weber? Well, if not, let's check in with Representative Javidi.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. I also wanted to tell Eric how wonderful that is, the good news about the treatment for dialysis, and I've been working hard on that. That's a huge win for our community, and I know a lot of people will be relieved by that, and I second what Senator Weber had to say about the tornado up in Rockaway. It's crazy that we get tornadoes on the Oregon North Coast. Sounds like we get kind of everything in this area, but I'll be checking in later with, I'm sure the rest of the leadership in the district and county will with any needs up there, and if there's anything we can do to coordinate with state services, we're happy to lend our voice to that too. I think Senator Weber again covered most of everything. I did get to join her last week up in Clatsop County at the Farm Bureau meeting up there. It's a great group of farmers. Different, down here we're there's definitely a lot more emphasis on dairy. Up there, like Senator Weber, cranberry and other types of operations, and it's good to hear their unique needs and concerns. They, some of them, were surprised to hear about the farm worker housing. They're concerned about the FEMA buy-off as well, and so we had some good conversations, and hoping to get up there next season to help harvest cranberries, or at least watch them harvest cranberries, which sounded fascinating. So always good to learn more about the way people live and make a living on the coast. In addition to that, congratulations, by the way, to everybody who, all of our newly electeds and those who are re-elected. It's always nice when the campaign season's over, you can take a breather. And for all the newly electeds, I know you're probably excited to get started and trying to learn what your new roles will be. And please feel free to reach out if there's anything we can do, or we can do to help you understand how we might be of service to you. Yesterday, Veterans Day, I was invited to go up to Clatsop, the Elks Lodge there in Seaside, and spoke to a group of about 100 people who were honoring veterans. And there was 30 to 40 veterans from all the branches, and it was good hearing their stories and to be able to tell them thank you directly for their service to our country. And it's nice to have that type of leadership and role models throughout the county, and I always look forward to getting an opportunity to meet them. Issues that, in addition to what Senator Weber spoke about, I did get, there's been lots of conversation this week after President Trump won re-election, about what the impact that might have on the state, what impact that might have on everybody, personal lives, and there's been a range of issues popping up in the emails from constituents from housing to the popular vote, food security. We had an incident at the University of Oregon where an official made some controversial statements on social media, which prompted an investigation. And that official has been placed on administrative leave. The state will continue to follow up with that. We had some discussions this week about efforts to modernize Oregon's EMS, including funding mechanisms and workforce support. Clatsop County was able to complete their infrastructure upgrade with new walk-in coolers and freezing units, which will support food distribution for the community up there. I'll be going up on December 13th to visit their facility and see some of these important upgrades. We also have we had a constituent reach out this recently about the card block commercial fueling situation. We recently went to self-serve for retail and gas customers, but for our commercial fuel, which has been self-serve but locked behind gates, so to speak, and one of those is that you have to purchase 900 gallons per year in order to participate in commercial refueling. And it's a significant savings for our commercial operators to be able to have access to that. And some of our small businesses can't get to the 900-gallon mark. And so we're looking into reducing that or changing that so that they have access to fuel for their smaller businesses without having to without having to use retail fuel costs, which are, of course, a little bit higher. So I'll be looking into that as well. And then later this week, as far as events go, I will be at the League of Women Voters on Friday speaking to them. This is kind of a broader audience for all of Oregon. I'll be there along with Minority Leader Senator Bowman, as well as Speaker Fahey and the Majority House Leader Representative Bowman, discussing priorities for the parties, but also for our communities. And I'm excited to be able to speak to a larger audience about the unique needs of the Oregon coast and how our challenges and needs are different from the I-5 corridor, to help bring some attention to what the specific things we are working on here on the coast are. And other than that, that's all I've got on my report for this week, and looking forward to any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Representative, and congratulations on your reelection.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Do we have any questions for Representative Javidi? Well, if not, we very much appreciate your report. Good to hear from you, and thanks.
Thank you.
With that, let's move on to the Tillamook County Community Health Center.
And good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Tillamook County. It's Ed with the Health Department.
Good morning, Ed.
And good morning. Well, families are often the primary source of support for older adults and people with disabilities. In fact, today in America, more than 53 million family caregivers provide unpaid care. That's why every November we celebrate National Family Caregivers Month. While family caregivers should be celebrated every day, this is a time to recognize and honor caregivers nationally, raise awareness around caregiving issues, educate communities, and work to increase support for caregivers. If you are a caregiver or know someone who is and they need support, the community is here. Northwest Senior and Disability Services offers a family caregiver support program for unpaid caregivers that includes group meetings, information on respite support, and individual counseling. Learn more by visiting NWSDS online. Tillamook County Community Health Centers providers can also provide support through helping to manage stress, grief, and emotional challenges, and more. To schedule, please give us a call with a provider at 503-842-3900, and that's our health department update.
Thank you, Ed. Do we have any questions for Ed at the health department? If not, let's move on to Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy and Gail Nelson.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have no updates this morning. It's just if anyone would like to schedule an appointment with us here in Wheeler, please do not hesitate to give us a call. And that would be for any updates that you may need for your health care or for behavioral health appointments. Our phone number is 800-368-5182. And thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Let's move on to Tillamook Family Counseling Center and Frank Hanna Williams.
Good morning, Commissioners. Frank Hanna Williams, Director, Tillamook Family Counseling Center, Behavioral Health Services for Tillamook County residents. I don't have much of an update either this morning, and would just like to say that people can give us a call at for information about services, appointments, any questions about what we are involved with in the community at 503-842-8201 or 1-800-962-2851. And if anyone has any questions, I can take them.
Thank you, Frank. Actually, I do have a question. I've talked to several people this week about their feelings of anxiety and other feelings about the election results. And I wondered if you could speak to that for a minute, if there's what you recommend if people feel like they need some kind of support, and if there's an uptick in those kinds of services after an election.
Oh boy. You caught me a little by surprise, but I can. My thought would be that I think that this election, perhaps different than others, probably has raised a lot of questions and concerns for people, and has left people with a lot of the feelings that you have talked about there. A lot of anxiety. There's a lot that's gone on for a long period of time, and I think that creates a lot of challenges and anxiety for people. And certainly, I'm not really thinking that there's been a lot of people who may have sought services specifically for that, and most likely it's kind of mixed in with some other things. But I could certainly understand that people have experienced a lot of anxiety. In the past, our elections didn't have the media coverage that it does now. Every single thing is covered. And I think that for some people, one of the things that they have found that has been somewhat helpful is, and I say this knowing that people are probably not going to do it very much, stay off of social media. I think that creates an additional level of anxiety. It keeps small things going, and I think if people can get together with friends and talk about things in a way which is in a little more controlled setting, rather than broadcasting it out to lots of people. I think that social media is it's a plus and a curse, and I'm sure that people may be upset with me for describing it that way, but that is my thought about it. Is that people seem to have had a little bit of relief by limiting their social media time. Limit the time. I'm gonna listen to NPR just for a little bit. I'm gonna watch Fox Channel just a little bit, and keep some sensibility around it. Otherwise, I think it's very possible to just be pulled into being drowned by it all. So those are the only things that I am either I'm hearing or I'm thinking about, because it is an issue, and that's my Tuesday morning 2 cents here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your Tuesday morning 2 cents, and you make an excellent point about social media. It really is an amplifier, and sometimes we're amplifying wonderful things that are happening in the community or ways that we can help people, etc. But sometimes we're amplifying other things, anxiety or false information, etc. So that's really great advice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do we have anything else for Frank? If not, let's move on to emergency management. Randy Thorpe, are you with us?
You bet, Commissioner. I'm here today.
Well, I hope
Even
you're
though-
ready to talk about the Rockaway Beach tornado.
Yeah. I got talked to the National Weather Service this morning, and they were looking for some more information, and so they could be able to better describe what occurred there. They got a few calls in, and they were looking for some video or pictures to show what it is, because they're really interested now, so what they can help with their predictions, because they're looking at, with the high winds that we're having and the unstable conditions, that the water spouts are going to be more and more common over the next couple of days. And they, again, like at Rockaway, they could make landfall. I talked with Chief Hesse this morning, and he said, yes, it did, it did come on land. It did give some damage to a couple of sheds and a couple of stop signs, and it quickly dissipated as it moved up into the woods there behind Rockaway. So again, the thing too with if anybody sees water spouts over the ocean, or it looks like they're coming onshore, please call emergency management. That number is 503-842-3412. And also call the National Weather Service at 503-326-2340. That way we can make sure that we get people prepared for any issues that may happen, and also to be able to get the National Weather Service involved to help identify and predict future sightings. So anyway, that's it was like I said, we are in a very severe weather pattern. If you noticed last night, we had heavy rain, we had thunder, we had lightning. And so it's very unstable out there. And due to that, the Weather Service still has their high surf advisory in effect until tonight. And that means the high surf is going to affect the beaches, riptide, sneaker waves, beach erosion. So be very careful. If you're out observing the big crashing waves, just be very careful with what you're doing, because it's a very dangerous situation. And also our high wind watch is in effect until tomorrow morning. They're saying south winds steady at 30 to 40 and gusts up to 60. And I believe that they hit the mark last night with that. So they're also predicting another 1 to 2 inches of rain tonight. So it looks like another heavy rainstorm. And then we'll get another inch or two throughout the week. But I guess the good point in all this is that the hydrologists are not predicting any of our 5 rivers to rise high enough to become into the action levels. So I guess there is some good news out of this weather pattern. So, and then the other big problem is that we're going to have the king tides here later on the week, starting on the 15th. And so that's really going to compound our offshore issues. And again, just be extremely cautious if you're going to go visit those king tides this weekend. So anyway, with that, just bundle up and drive careful when you're out, because with all this rain, that's going to affect driving quite a bit. Plus, definitely check trip check, because the Cascades are getting quite a bit of snow on the passes right now. So you just want to make sure before you travel to check to make sure what your routes look like. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it. While you were talking about king tides, it occurred to me to ask you, will you please reach out to Dan Keyes, the Tillamook County Parks Director, because he came on in May, and this will be his first king tides experience. And he should get a little briefing from you about what king tides mean and what they'll mean for Tillamook County Parks. So please reach out to Dan.
Yes, I'll do that, and I'll make sure that he stays in good communication with the fire department there in Rockaway Beach and Garibaldi, because they're the ones that will respond if there's any issues that occur. So thank you for reminding me on that, Commissioner.
You are welcome, and thank you for your report. Do we have any questions for Randy? Well, I'm very grateful that nobody was hurt in Rockaway Beach. It was not totally shocking because we had a tornado in Manzanita. What was that, 2016 or 17? So it's happened here before, but it's certainly surprising, and I'm very grateful nobody was hurt. Well, let's move on to the Board of Commissioners reports. Commissioner Olson, would you like to start this morning?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Yes, I will. I do have a few things. First of all, of course, the election is now behind us, and I would like to thank everyone who voted, regardless of how you voted. The fact that you voted is a big deal, I think. And thinking back, I'm not sure I've ever missed election since I was eligible to vote. And the off-year elections and the big presidential and so on is just part of being a citizen, and I take it seriously, and I think a lot of folks here in Tillamook County do as well. We don't have the final turnout, but it's not quite as high as we thought, but pretty significant. The way the system works, and I'll talk about the radio bond, which did pass by about 580 votes, maybe a little more. Today is the closing day for the vote by mail. So if it's not received tonight, and of course it has to have a postmark earlier than 8 o'clock on election day a week ago, that's it for receipt of ballots. And so what the county will do then, will publish a final tally tonight and possibly one following. And then the election will be certified around the first week of December. Certified means that everything is in order. The county clerk signs off on it. It goes to the Secretary of State, and it becomes the official record of Tillamook County and in the state of Oregon. So then what happens on the radio bond, after certification, the financial people, meaning the brokers, will come together and prepare with bond counsel an offering statement. It's called an official statement. There's a preliminary and then an official, and that goes out to prospective investors. And probably right after the first of the year, the bonds will be sold. And they've told us it would be take probably less than an hour to sell them, and then they will remit the approximately $24 million to the county. And the county then at the same time will be moving forward, bringing together an RFP, request for proposals, to go on the market to actually select the system, and be working with the consultant to develop the specifications and the management, the way forward. So all that will happen after the first of the year, and there should be a contract awarded late February, March, somewhere in there, and contract signed, and it goes forward. Parallel to that, there will be an advisory committee, and some people have asked how that would happen, and we don't know exactly, but I suspect we would have a representative from each of the major agencies, like the sheriff's office, maybe one of the police departments, fire, the various fire districts, the ambulance, some citizens at large, and probably a couple more. And they would meet regularly to oversee the process, and then oversee the construction, to take feedback from the respective agencies and more or less keep things on track. So that's what will happen over the next months. And as we've told everyone, it will be probably 18 months before things are up. Could be a little sooner, could be a little longer. But there'll be some design things that need to happen. There'll be one new tower at least, and a lot of equipment, and most likely there'll be something different than that nobody saw coming. That's usually the case with a complex project. But any event, all that happens right after the first of the year, and we'll be well on our way to a state-of-the-art radio system. So thanks again to those who supported, and really thanks to everyone who turned out to vote, because if you don't vote in America, I think you're missing out on what makes America and a few other countries around the world special. We get to say who our leaders are and who represents us in Congress and the Oregon legislature, on the county commission, and government at all levels. And not Not every country in the world does that. So I'll talk about a couple of other items. Our county budget, we've come down to a point where we're bringing in an outside consulting firm, a smaller one, but lots of experience. They're going to look at some of the options and say, well, this is a really good option, and here's some things you need to consider. Or this option is pretty difficult and hasn't worked elsewhere. And in other words, let them bring to the table some expertise and some experience and some things that they've seen elsewhere, because I think most of us are fans of not reinventing the wheel. Our situation is not a whole lot different than other cities and counties, school districts, and others have faced over the years. And so we hope to learn from their experience, good and bad. So more to come on that one. Tonight we have a Fair Board meeting, and I'll bring that up simply because the Fair has had for a long time a capital improvement plan of several $1 million of improvements at the fairgrounds. And so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about some funding options. And after attending the state, the Fair Association for county fairs a couple of weeks ago, it occurred to me that this is a problem across all county fairs. They are lacking capital funds for some of the bigger, more expensive upgrades that need to be done. And some of them are really quite urgent, fire, life safety type stuff. At our county fair, I don't think anything is quite that urgent, but there's some buildings that are in need of significant upgrades, significant repairs, and do in some cases present a bit of a safety hazard. So we're going to look at some options, and maybe we can get several banks to come together and finance it. And I might say this is not something that we would ask taxpayers to support. The fair has sufficient revenues from several sources, including your entrance fees to the fair, rental for other events, and in cases some grants, some money from tourism tax that's in Tillamook County. So it's possible to take some of that money and be able to borrow a larger amount, service the debt, and get some of this work done. So we'll be talking about that tonight at the Fair Board. A couple of other items. There's a group that probably no one listening has ever heard of. It's called the Oregon Coast Zonal Management Association. And it's a group of cities and counties, soil and water districts, and I think maybe a few other smaller agencies that are on the Oregon coast. And they've been together for quite a number of years, several decades, and they kind of went into suspension over COVID. But what they do is they pay attention to what's going on in the ocean in terms of development, in terms of beach erosion, sometimes safety matters and all sorts of things. And so we've been meeting, and I represent the county on that group, talking about a way forward and perhaps getting an organization to management. It's currently managed by the Association of Oregon Counties, and I don't think they want to do it anymore. So we're in the process of looking at another group, and it's stepping up now its interest because there's a lot of things going on just off the Oregon coast, including navigation of ships, including submarine cables with various kinds of data from around the world, including energy generation, both floating windmills and then wave energy. And so it's one of those times where you better pay attention what's going on, or something will happen and you didn't have a seat at the table. So this is one way we can do that. So that's coming back to life. And then finally, the last thing I'll mention, Saturday I attended our Citizen Advisory Committee in Pacific City, and we had a pretty good crowd, about maybe 45 or 50 people, and Sarah Absher was there, as she does. She works about 70 or 80 hours a week, I think, sometimes. And we were talking, among other things, about the biological opinion and what it would mean for development and rebuilding and all those things that are in or near a floodplain and how it would affect them. And nothing resolved, of course, but information going out. And there'll be a bigger meeting this week, Thursday night, 7 p.m. at the port in, I believe, the officers' mess, which is, they call it their meeting room or meeting hall. It's at the far back of the port, beyond the administrative offices. There's a big white building in the southeast corner of the port. And this will be a joint meeting of the Tillamook County Planning Commission and the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners. We'll not be making any decisions, but we'll have a full presentation by Sarah and perhaps others on this biological opinion that's coming from FEMA. It affects our flood insurance, whether or not we can get it in the county or not. There's several options that have been presented, none of them particularly attractive. So this will be a listening session and a really good opportunity for people to speak up and say what's on their mind and maybe give some advice to both the Planning Commission and the Commission itself. So mark your calendars for 7 p.m. this Thursday, November 14 at the port. And I think it'll probably go a couple of hours for sure. We'll hear from a lot of people, and that will help guide some decisions that the commission and our cities need to make in just over the next few weeks. So put that on your calendar if you're what. So Commissioner, I think that's about all I have this morning. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. And I want to thank you publicly for all of your hard work on the radio bond. You worked tirelessly. I think you probably worked 60, 70-hour weeks. And I know you were out at meetings sometimes every night, often on weekends, and you did an outstanding job. So thank you very much for all your hard work on that campaign.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will say along the way, I met a lot of really cool people. There's just a wide diversity of good people in Tillamook County. I really enjoyed that. Some people came out of the woodwork and chastised me, and others said, well, what took you so long? And but I always enjoy meeting people like that. And, Tillamook County is just full of really, really good people.
Thank you. I agree completely. Let's move on to Commissioner Scar.
Thank you. Well, I would also express my thanks to Commissioner Olson for carrying the water on that bill for the county. Having him come on in this year was the perfect timing. He has done bond measures before and was able to really just pick that ball up and run with it in a way that really I don't think anyone else here was prepared to do. So thank you so much. We appreciate you, Doug. I also want to throw my thanks in on the dialysis center. That is absolutely crucial to have that available again in our community. And I am thankful that there is a nonprofit organization that is willing to step in and do it because it is needed, because it is the right thing for our community, and to not have to have it driven by a profit margin, which simply will only work at certain times. When we have enough folks seeking dialysis, it can come above, and have a positive bottom line. But when we don't, and it drops to a negative bottom line, that organization has the right mission and ability to keep it going. And that's going to be absolutely, just for our community, fantastic. I've been hearing from and about individuals who have been traveling for their dialysis back and forth to Banks, back and forth to Lincoln City, and just how absolutely excruciatingly difficult, painful, exhausting that has been. It has had people question whether it's worth continuing. So I think knowing that right on that horizon there is hope that center will open soon will give those folks some relief. So very thankful to Adventist Health for the work that they did to just keep looking until we found someone. Okay, shifting gears, next week is the Association of Oregon Counties Conference. And so as a Board of Commissioners, we will all be in attendance at this conference. We will not have a Board of Commissioners meeting. We will not have, I don't believe, a radio call next week, and we will not have a board briefing next week. So I'm sure for those of you listening, you're thinking, what could be so amazing that our entire Board of Commissioners would be gone for the majority of the week? This conference is an opportunity for us to learn from experts and also to learn from our fellow commissioners about topics that are very important. We always have the opportunity of reinventing the wheel, which Doug actually spoke to earlier about budget, which was we're hiring an expert because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us. This conference allows us to do this in a variety of different topics. So just I'll throw a few of them out there so that you can get a flavor for what we're looking at. There's a panel on rural homelessness, which we will have the opportunity to hear from other communities what they're doing and integrate those learnings into what we're doing. There's a panel on county deflection programs, and I know you all have heard me talk about the deflection planning that we're currently doing. We are probably one of the ones that's furthest behind in our state because we just had never thought about deflection in this way before, whereas many of our larger urban areas have been doing this for quite some time. So we will again have the opportunity to hear from people who are further down this path than we are and to use that in how we create our deflection programs. There is an opportunity to talk about the funding for assessment and taxation for the county. Right now, we get a very small grant from the state of Oregon to assist with paying for our assessment and taxation, but the majority of it comes out of our general fund budget. And this has been, it's a growing cost to actually do the assessment and taxation, but of course, without that, our government doesn't function, since taxes are the primary funding source for our general fund department. So this is looking at what will go before the legislature in the coming session, how we can be a strong part of that, and helps us understand the background that we need to know so that we can effectively advocate for the change that we need to see. There's a panel on communicable diseases in Oregon. They are spreading at this time, and this just gives, again, good information about how it's happening, what the data is showing, and again, what communities are doing to respond to make sure that we are staying on the front line of that with best practices. This conference also gives us the opportunity to have meet and greets with our federal agency folks, as well as our federal electeds and their staff. So it's just, again, it's an opportunity for us to come together with experts and our fellow commissioners and really learn things that we can bring back for Tillamook County. So a great opportunity. Looking forward to being there. Always learn things to bring home that are effective for our county. So that is next week. And then just a couple local community things going on. I want to give my congratulations to the Tillamook High School football team. They are in the state quarterfinals, which means they will play this Friday at Scappoose at 7 p.m. So if you are seeing any of the football players around town, give them those congratulations. And I'm sure there will probably be a send-off for them Friday afternoon, although I don't have the time for that. Keep your eye out, I'm sure, on Facebook. Tillamook Athletics will give some information about that. But that is exciting for our community. Anytime we have our young people who are being successful in their athletics, that typically means they're also being athletic and being successful in their academics and their community activities. So let's support our young people as they go forth and do great things. Two other things coming up. The Christmas basket program is currently, I say live, meaning applications are being taken for those in need for Christmas baskets. We are coming to the end of that window. Applications need to be into CARE by the 14th of November. So there's just a couple of days left. If you do know someone or you yourself would benefit from a Christmas basket, please reach out to CARE 503-842-5261. Also, if you are interested in sponsoring a family and providing them a Christmas basket or providing donations so that CARE staff can do that as well, you can again call CARE 503-842-5261. That is a long-standing program. It used to, in fact, be taken care of by Tillamook Ecumenical, and Tillamook Ecumenical is no longer functioning at that level, so they have handed that program over fully to CARE, but it is still in the community, and it continues to be sort of a centering point where different organizations come together to assure that baskets go to those who are in need and that there is not duplication of effort. Therefore, more and more people can receive their baskets. So invite you to join that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is I spent this last weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, where many of you know that my daughter is attending college. And her sorority was volunteering on a Habitat for Humanity house building project on Saturday, which I joined them for. And it was super fun. So it makes me feel guilty that I have, in all my years in Tillamook County, not joined a habitat build here in Tillamook County. So I want to take the opportunity to hold up Habitat for Humanity in Tillamook County and to let everyone know that they are in the process. They have just finished a build in Garibaldi, and they are kicking off a build in Bay City right now. So I just encourage you, if you have never participated in one of their building days or more, I encourage you to do it. It was really amazing. I was fortunate enough that I was actually partnered with and working alongside the person who will own the home in Charlotte. And it was fantastic to hear the story of the family and what this means for them to have a home that they can afford without being housing cost burdened. And we know that on the Tillamook coast, it's very, very expensive to live here. And Habitat homes ensure that the families will own their home, which is how we build generational wealth, but that they also will have a payment that is not more than 30% of their income. So it's a really, really great program. If you haven't participated or are not familiar, check out their website. And again, you can reach out to them to volunteer if you would like to at 503-842-7472. So just a shout out to Habitat for Humanity all across the country, but I know our local affiliate is amazing as well. So get out and volunteer. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, I appreciate Commissioner Scar's description of the Association of Oregon Counties Conference. It really is a great experience for us to learn about what's going on in other counties and to learn from other counties and for them to learn from us about what's working well, what are our challenges, how are some other counties dealing with those challenges. It's a great networking and learning opportunity. However, I was assuming that we will have this call because we can do it remotely. So stay tuned for that. We will post a message and let folks on the call know if we're not having it. But I was assuming that we would, and I know we have previously from the conference. So I wanted to mention a few things. One is that I had the wonderful opportunity to get together with Allison Dennis and her husband and a couple other folks from South County this weekend to celebrate the Sitka Center for Art and Ecology. And just not everybody even knows the Sitka Center exists. So I'm just going to talk about it for a minute. The Sitka Center for Art and Ecology is in Tillamook County, maybe on the nearly southernmost point on Cascade Head. And it is a beautiful small center for art and ecology where they have artist in residency programs and they have fabulous art classes in the summer mainly, and you don't have to be an artist to take these classes, and they're generally a couple days, 1 to 3 days. Maybe some are longer, but I've taken some writing classes there and also some glass art classes there, and they have classes in a wild variety of art genres and also a variety of expertise levels. So you don't have to know how to do something in order to go there and take a class. And so for a number of years, I would take a little summer mini vacation to take an art class at Sitka, which was very enriching. It was lovely, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So Sitka is a terrific resource here in Tillamook County for arts and culture, but now they've taken on the Community Arts Project. It used to be Community Arts Project that did art education for elementary schools, and a couple years ago Sitka took on that role. So they're really growing and expanding, and they have artists teaching art classes now throughout Tillamook County. So that is very exciting, and they're moving north into Clatsop County and south into Lincoln County, so that children along the North Coast and elementary school have the opportunity for first-rate art education, which is just thrilling. It's amazing. My son went to elementary school at Nestucca Valley Elementary. He took those classes way back when, and we still have some of that artwork. It was really a great experience for him and for other kids. And so I'm thrilled that Sitka is doing that work and that program is supported and it's growing, and kids get the opportunity to experience art personally in their classrooms. And this is very exciting. They are going to host the U.S. Poet Laureate, which is really quite an honor for Tillamook County for the U.S. Poet Laureate to come here in the spring of 2025. The U.S. Poet Laureate is Ada Limon, and she will be here in Tillamook County in 2025. So stay tuned for more there. I think she's going to do a public event at one of the Nestucca Valley schools, and so I'll talk about it on the radio, so folks can go and hear the U.S. Poet Laureate. It's really a great opportunity. I also wanted to just mention something personal that maybe has a broader application. I'm part of a prayer group, and during COVID, we went remote because, obviously, and it seemed like I was worried at the time that we wouldn't be able to sustain prayer together remotely on Zoom. I thought it just seemed goofy, but we did sustain it, and so we've been together now for a number of years, and one of our members has moved away, but she's still with us because we meet remotely. But this weekend, I invited people in our prayer group to my house, and we had a nice lunch together. And our youngest member brought her children, which was lovely. And so we just had this beautiful time together with prayer and sharing food and enjoying children. And it really made me think about the things that I was reflecting on this when Frank was talking, Frank Kenna-Williams, about get together with the people that you care about, because that's where we'll find real comfort. And I think there are probably lots of opportunities for us to return to meeting in person. There were a lot of things that we lost during COVID in terms of personal interactions, and lots of opportunities for us to return to meeting in person. So I encourage people to do that. It was joyful and heartening, like a balm to my spirit. So also thanks to my prayer group for that. And the last thing I want to mention is that yesterday, I went outside before the heavy rain started. It was a beautiful morning. I went outside and I saw salmon spawning in the creek on my property, which was just, I don't know how many times I've seen that happen, but every time it's just a magical thing to me to think about how these fish were hatched in this creek, and they lived here as little tiny fish, and then went to the ocean, and then somehow, miraculously, when it's time, they come back to the exact same stream from which they were hatched, and lay their own eggs here and die. And it's just it feels magical. It's a wonderful thing. So I stood by the stream yesterday and watched these fish coming up and thought, welcome back. And I was just very grateful to be part of this circle of life and to live here where we get to see that. We get to see it personally up close, and our children get to see it. My son grew up seeing it. Kids in school get to see it. It's just, there is a lot to be grateful for living here in Tillamook County, and I am grateful. So with that, I'm going to move to the cities and start by congratulating Mayor Stock on her reelection.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, good morning.
Great, thank you. Good morning. And that was very eloquent, your last comment. So thank you for that. Yes, Councilors Jerry Spegman, Councilor Tom Campbell, and I were all returned to office for the city of Manzanita. All three of us ran unopposed, but despite that, I think everyone who knows us would know we don't take it for granted, and we are all three of us really looking forward, along with our other two councilors who were not up for re-election this time. We are all looking forward to working together for the city's behalf. And there's a lot to look forward to, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you for that. As a reminder, you were wondering about the date for the Manzanita tornado. That was almost exactly 8 years ago that happened in Manzanita. It was October of 2016, and while thankfully no one was hurt at that time, there was a good bit of property damage and a lot of trees that had to come down. So best wishes to Rockaway for the work they will do to clean up from theirs. I just have a couple of other announcements this morning regarding our comprehensive plan. I've been talking about that just about every week and probably will continue to. We've got a survey up on our website now, and I want to just put another shout out there to the community. And you do not have to be a citizen of the city of Manzanita to fill it out. Certainly if you live in the area, particularly around Nehalem and Wheeler and Neocani, we would love to have your input into that. You can find it on the city's homepage. There's a spot on the left-hand side about Envision Manzanita and the comprehensive plan. If you go there and then scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll find a link that will let you get more involved, sign up for our mailing list, and give you a chance to respond in person and quietly to some questions we have about the city and going forward. So I thank everyone in advance for participating in that if they can. On a practical day-to-day matter, our Classic Street project, which will be a big road improvement, also will create new water infrastructure for us there, and also will provide, we hope, if the budget allows it, pedestrian-friendly and bike-friendly paths along there in a part of the city that's grown over the last several years. That project, we awarded a contract for we awarded the contract to an engineering firm who is starting the first phase of work on that, which will be to assess what we've got, help us figure out the budget, help us figure out what we can do with the money we have to work on that project. There is some initial assessment that's going on in this next week, and it may require, we don't know for sure yet, it may require some small road closures. If there are some, that'll be well marked, and we'll be there to help people get around us if we need to close the road for a little bit. That's a really important project for our city, and it's the start of, I think, some work that will really help walkability in our community, and has been something that's been on citizens' minds for quite a while. So thanks to everyone for helping us as we get that underway and visible. Yes, I think that's it. Those are my notes. So thank you very much to everyone. And I am having had friends who have had to go through dialysis and understanding a little bit about what that means to people. I am very, very grateful for the work that everyone has done to get that service back into the county. That is literally, as you know, a matter of life and death for people. So thank you very much for the hard work that went into that, and I'm very glad you found a solution. That's it from Manzanita.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for your report. Do we have anyone on from the city of Nehalem or Wheeler? How about Rockaway Beach?
Good morning, Charles McNeely, Mayor of Rockaway Beach here.
Good morning, Mayor. Congratulations on your reelection.
Well, thank you. It's good to have the election in the rearview mirror. I do want to say I appreciate all of the candidates who ran for office and shared their vision for Rockaway Beach. And in particular, I want to congratulate those who earned the voters' trust to work collaboratively with city leadership to move our beloved community forward. It was quite the election cycle for our little city here on the coast. We do have our city council workshop on Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. in the second floor conference room, followed by the city council meeting at 6 p.m. in the city council chambers on the first floor south wing. I'm excited to talk about some upgrades to the sound system. We did hear from some residents that they had trouble hearing counselors and speakers during the sessions. In fact, those remotely could hear better than those in the room. So we've finishing up installing some new speakers and some new microphones. Fingers crossed, it'll be ready for this Wednesday night meeting, and hopefully this will improve our attendees' experience during council meetings. Let's see, we just finished taking final comments on our strategic plan. The council will have an opportunity to adopt the strategic plan on Wednesday. And then in January, assuming they adopt it, we'll prioritize specific action items, which will then be worked into the next proposed budget. I'm particularly excited about this exercise, as it was a way to connect our community with city government and move the city forward in a way that fits with how our community wants us to do that. We're going to see some street rehabilitation work next spring, and Public Works is laying the groundwork for that now. And then I guess the last thing I'll just mention, there's an organization called EV Charging Solutions, and they are planning to install a string of DC fast charging stations along Highway 101. 10 cities in Washington were selected, 2 in Oregon. I'm excited to say that Rockaway Beach was one of those sites. So they will install, manage, support at no cost to the city, enough charging stations to allow 8 electric vehicles to simultaneously use high-powered DC fast charging stations. And they're coming to our December meeting with more details. And the next big step is to finalize a site host agreement. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, would you like to say anything about the tornado?
Well, so it actually it came ashore just south of the Wayside, cut a little bit northeasterly. It went right across our house. It sounded like a train was about to crash into our house when it went through. We didn't have extensive damage, fortunately, but the school district building, windows were broken. One of their outbuildings, the roof was ripped off. There was damage at the baseball field. The baseball stands are gone. The dugout is gone. A soccer goal structure was lifted up and dropped on the fence to the tennis court. So stop signs were ripped out. Fences were blown down. So nothing like what happened to our sister city to the north, but certainly Public Works and the residents will be busy over the next few days cleaning up from it. It's an experience I hope I never go through again.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm so grateful that nobody was hurt.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the City of Garibaldi. Or the City of Bay City.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. This is City Manager David McCall.
Good morning, David.
So our mayor is out of town today, and she asked me to step in and relay a few items of information. We had our regular city council meeting a week early this month because of Veterans Day. So last week we had a lot of things on the agenda that I'd like to update you on. So to start with, we had our first hearing of an ordinance that's making a few changes. One of the more significant may be that we're looking at putting in a little more flexibility for bed and breakfasts. We don't have any in town right now, and it's hoped that with this flexibility, we may be able to attract one at some time in the future. And the city council also made a decision to close our campground for the rest of the winter. Things were getting we were having some issues with people there and vandalism and things like that. So the campground is closed now. The council is also continuing its discussion of potential SDC reductions for ADUs. And I think we're getting closer to a decision on that. And at next month's meeting, we may even have a resolution that they look at. Council approved a notice of intent to award a contract to WRK Engineers for the seismic rehabilitation project for Fire Station 41. This is an approximately $4.5 million grant from the state of Oregon to do the seismic upgrade to our fire station. The city council also approved the designation of an additional park in the city. This is to accommodate a welcome garden, basically between City Hall, where the mural is on that side, between City Hall and Highway 101 there. The city also acquired a piece of land through quiet title this year, and that was dedicated as a right-of-way along 14th Street. The city council also approved a temporary moratorium on the issuance of floodplain development permits effective December 1st, 2024. This is in line with the different FEMA changes that I think all of our cities in the county are going through right now. We discussed introducing curbside recycling services and improving those rates. We approved a financing contract with Business Oregon for a $3.8 million transmission line project. And the city council also unanimously approved a letter through the National League of Cities urging Congress to fund and replenish depleted disaster assistance accounts. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Councilor Imhoff for his years of service on the city council. He decided this year not to run for re-election. I'd like to welcome Colin Jones, who will be joining our city council in January. And I'd like to congratulate councilors Tim Josie and Justin Howard, as well as Mayor Leanne Welch on their re-election to the city council. That's all I have for you this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it. Do we have Nathan George with us from the city of Tillamook?
Good morning, Commissioner. I am. Can you hear me okay?
Good morning. We can.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yes, first of all, I'd like to congratulate all of our councilors that ran and were reelected. Looking at the results, all of them were reelected or already in seat, the incumbents. So congratulations to them. In the police department, last week, Sergeant Harrell and Chief Troxel attended the Oregon Chiefs of Police Small Agency Conference. This training was very well attended. Great connections with law enforcement leadership from across the state were made. This past week, our Executive Assistant Larson and Sergeant Harrell continued to work on property and evidence purging. They are scheduling a trip to the incinerator to dispose of these records in accordance with Oregon state law. And Chief Troxel worked on the accreditation process preparing for our on-site visit last week. Please save the date for the regular Coffee with a Cop at our local Starbucks on North Main Street, which is next to Denny's Restaurant and Burger King, actually, on Wednesday, November 20th from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. We hope to see many residents during that time, and I will also be in attendance, so that's a good event. Really a good opportunity for people to come meet our police department and talk and share ideas. In the Public Works Department, the Streets Division is continuing street sweeping to pick up the fall leaf debris and working with code enforcement on trees that are leaning into the right-of-way, making it difficult for the sweeper to pass and for larger vehicles. On 9th Street Park, which is the Coatesville Park, restaurants were vandalized again over the weekend. One side was set on fire and the other side of the plumbing was damaged. Both are now locked until the damages can be repaired. Along with the vandalism that also occurred at the Carnahan Park last week, this is an ongoing problem with our public restrooms and is putting a huge strain on the city's park budget. If you see anyone or anything suspicious in or near the park restrooms, please call 911. The Streets Division is also continuing to do power washing to remove graffiti that was done last week as well. Unfortunately, these are huge problems. The Water Treatment Division continues with the piping controls upgrades of the water treatment plant. When completed, this will remedy the old leaking piping and old valves that were failing. The Water Distribution Division is continuing to do a meter repair in the field and working on repairing old and leaking service lines on the west side of town. The Sewer Division is continuing work on the treatment plant's air blower system that is a critical component of the treatment process. The work being performed on this is tying the blowers into the monitoring system so they're running in the optimum speed for treatment, while at the same time reducing power consumption, since that's one of the big costs of operating a wastewater treatment plant. So just some general updates on operations. We have a lot going on, and we want the public to know that there is a lot, and we do a lot, and we're trying to keep things running for the city. The Planning Department and I will be attending the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners meeting on Thursday, the 14th at 7 p.m., and this meeting is critical as the city plans to partner with the county and follow its lead on how to handle the FEMA pre-implementation compliance measures for the National Flood Insurance Program discussion. That's a mouthful. The next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, November 18th at 7 p.m. We encourage everyone interested to attend, and either virtually or in person. And this will also be a good meeting to attend if you or anyone you know would like to provide public comments to the council on the process for the hiring of an interim city manager and the process of hiring the next permanent city manager. So by state law, when an elected board hires someone, hires an executive or whatnot, or hires someone, it has to have the opportunity to comment on the process. They don't have to comment on the person, although many times they do allow the public to comment on the person, but they have to allow the public to comment on the process, which means the council had to establish the process first, which is what they did at the last meeting. So, any rate, and then the last thing is, as always, please call 911 if you see anything. As I said earlier, it's critical, and I know there's discussion earlier on social media. Posting on social media will not do any good for emergency responses. We do not take 911 calls from social media, so please call. I believe you can text 911 at any emergency or anything you see that looks suspicious. And that's all I have, Commissioner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate your report. Well, I'd like to thank KTIL, as always, for broadcasting. Thank everyone for participating, and thank you, Tillamook County, for listening. Have a great day, everyone. And this meeting is adjourned at 9:20 a.m.